several clergy in Russia.
Was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the Kaliningrad.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guys? Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to the latest edition of Global Atheist News Review, or Views on the News. I'm thinking of changing the name a bit because it's more catchy. So, who have we got today? We have Dread Pirate. And Dread, I'm sorry, I didn't give you a 5 count. If you switched on during the intro, you'll have captured it.
Yeah,
good
man. It worked. Thanks for having me.
Great. Dread is in British Columbia, the western coast of California. No, Canada.
Canada.
Yes, that place. Yes. I haven't been drinking, honestly. Guy from the Manchester zone, the Manchester area, northern England. Scott from California. We haven't seen Scott. He's been on holiday, but we've let him back in nonetheless. Frank from Kentucky. Esther from the Midlands, near Birmingham, UK. We have David from Manhattan, and Ty is going to join us. I think he's just broken his connection, but when he comes, he'll be from Tennessee. And we've had some apologies. Unfortunately, Tercia can't make it. She's having, they call it load shedding. We would call it a power cut, but she's got no electricity. That's what happens in these parts of the world, which is probably going to happen here soon, thanks to Putin. Anyway, diving straight in to item number 1. It's a sad one. And here he is. Ty. Hello, Ty. Welcome.
Hey, welcome. That's me.
Yes. Thanks for coming.
Happy to be here.
So we have 16-year-old Azra Panahi, who died after security forces raided the Shahed Girls' School in Ardabil, Iran, on the 13th of October, just last week. They demanded that a group of girls should sing an anthem that praised Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and the girls refused. So the security forces beat the girls up, leading to a number of them being taken to hospital, and some of the others were arrested. And on Friday, Panaha died of her injuries. They're still at it, aren't they? Sorry about that, guys.
It's outrageous.
Yeah. Any charges being laid on these police?
I've got no information on that. All I can tell you, in addition, is that schoolgirls have emerged as a powerful force following the video of Mahsa Amini, the 22-year-old woman who died after being beaten by the morality police for not wearing her hijab correctly.
Yeah.
And the schoolgirls have taken this as their reason to campaign. So the Iranian authorities have responded by launching a series of raids on schools, with officers forcing their way into classrooms, violently arresting schoolgirls, pushing them into waiting cars, and firing tear gas into school buildings. Aren't they nice?
I mean, I read somewhere that something like 250 people have been killed in these demonstrations.
Wow.
I don't know if that's correct.
Well,
and I mean, sorry, Guy, you carry on.
No, go on. Yeah.
When you think about a 16-year-old, what harm can 16-year-olds pose that you will have to go to the school and ask them to sing an anthem to your leader? It's very concerning, and not just few weeks. A few weeks have passed since Mahsa Amini died. We still haven't people haven't, they're not done processing that. And now
Right.
comes this again, and it's another young girl this time around, even younger. At
Yes.
some point, people need to start asking these questions.
Mm.
What exactly are people in Iran? What exactly are they doing? And when you talk about the religion of peace, how is this peaceful? How is
Mhm.
this? How is your religion promoting peace? Because if I mean, the last time I checked, Iran was a religious, very religious state, and
Mm.
so you know they're guided by their religion and their book, and
Mhm.
that a God is actually watching this happen. I said to
Mm.
somebody, the fact that things like this happen and a God is supposed to be up there doing nothing about it just proves to me that that God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This brutality, it's shocking when we hear about it and when we talk about it, but it's not new. Um, it, I just was in the UN, online with the UN this week with the special rapporteur for freedom of religion and belief. And the first thing that crossed my mind, I mean, we can go back just slightly further and think about Malala being shot in the head for wanting to go to school. You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
the reality is that Iran is this pariah state. It is a theocratic state, and my question is where are the diplomatic efforts from the West or from outside that are
Yeah.
that are in any way trying to stop this brutality? I mean, it's
Mm.
clear that it's religious violence. It's clear that it violates the UN Charter of Human, the
Yeah.
Declaration of Human Rights,
Mm.
to be able to freely go to school, to be able to freely, think and to come together in groups. These are, Iran is violating every one of these
Yeah.
alleged human rights that we subscribe to,
Mm.
and we're not seeing anything at
It,
least I'm not seeing anything in the news about any
Mm.
diplomatic efforts to quell the violence.
No. No.
It
Well, the
seems to
violence
me.
has been going on now for 6 weeks since
Yeah.
since the victim
It seems to me that
Mawzi
others,
Amini Maza Amini was first killed, and
and
even though it those
Masa's family are being threatened.
yeah,
They've been receiving death threats
they have
within the
been.
last few days.
Yes, that's right.
That's
We
what we're
reported
hearing.
on that last week. Yes.
Mm.
even it's even going on in Afghanistan, but not getting the press. I
Hmm.
Yeah.
mean, there are two countries
Mm.
with large populations, with their populations being abused in the name of God.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I was going to
And
say that it seems that anytime this kind of religious violence takes place, the reason, and I could be completely wrong, but the reason that other states are not so quick to come to rally in opposition to it is that it would reveal their own hypocrisy.
Right.
That to whatever degree that religion is embraced or ensconced in law of Canada, U.S., name the country, that to point a finger at Iran and say this is outrageous in the name of your religion that you're doing this, they would have to turn their eye inward, and
mm.
they wouldn't want to see what they would see, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we really need to focus on the victims here rather than the perpetrators.
Mhm.
And because that's the healthy way to deal with this is not, because once you start accusing people of things, they immediately get into hardened positions or they don't want to hear it or they close down or whatever. But I think what we need to do is really have a diplomatic efforts to focus on the victims here, and less on the perpetrators because we know who the perpetrators are. But to really to bear witness to those who are being silenced, victimized, raped, murdered, or otherwise abused, we need to really send a message. And not just and I agree with you, Dred, it's not just an Iranian problem, although it's in the news and it's horrific. But it's much bigger than that. But this is where we seem to be focusing our locus of attention now.
Yeah. Well, it's not just within the country of Iran, because they have a famous climber, a lady called Elnaz Rikabi, and she's been appearing at the Asian Championships in South Korea. But a video was released showing her climbing this wall without a hijab on. And the protesters back home in Iran praised her, but then BBC Persian reported that her friends had been unable to contact her. And then she flew into Tehran with the rest of the athletes. Large crowds had gathered to greet her, and many of the videos that have been released show them clapping and chanting, "Elnaz is a heroine," but what happened after that is unknown. We don't know where she's been heading. She appears to have been in the control of the authorities that were with the athlete group.
I understand she was forced to make a statement that the hijab had fallen off accidentally.
Yes, that's right.
And I thought, well, that's a nice little face saver, perhaps. But if she's still in there, if she's still, as it were, incommunicado, that is not a good. That is not a good thing. And it sounds like the way the Chinese do it. They just remove people and kind of process them, over some months, and they come out zombified.
Well, you're right. There was a video, but in which she said that it fell off by accident. That does sound like a tall story. And the BBC Persian's correspondent, Rana Rahimpour, said that to many people, the language used in the video or in the post where she explained the loss of her hijab looks like it was written under duress. So there you go. Scott, have you got anything to say about the way these people are, what's going on in their heads when they're behaving like this? Eh?
And it's women, it's young girls who gets to police the men's clothing. Is there any laws? Are there any laws for how men should dress?
Well, only in regard to their hair and beard, I think. Yeah.
In situations like this where you see not only a crackdown, but extremes of behavior from the authority, whether that's a state or a single dictator or even the leader of a local group, it's an act of desperation. You can think back to the kamikaze pilots from World War II. That was not started until Japan's military was on the edge. It's an act of desperation, very much like I think Putin buying the drones from Iran. These drones are not going to win a war. They're not going to take over a territory.
No.
But it's an act of extremism, terrorism, which demonstrates that the authority is feeling like their back is against the wall.
Yeah. It's almost petulant, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well, other Iranian women who have competed abroad without wearing a headscarf in the past came under pressure from the Iranian authorities to issue similar apologies, and some of them decided not to go back to Iran. who's surprised about that?
Right.
I'm glad they
Not
didn't have to.
surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Frank?
Say, I'm glad they didn't have to, that they weren't forced to go back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, other things are going on in Iran. That you may have heard of the notorious Evin prison, which is somewhere on the outskirts of Tehran. It's known for housing political prisoners, including British Iranian dual nationals Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe and Anousheh Ashuri. They were both held in this Evin prison for several years on spying charges. Well, there's been a fire. 4 prisoners have died and 61 have been injured. We don't know why or what the implications of this are, but the videos have shown flames and smoke, and gunshots and explosions could be heard. So it sounds unlikely to have been, an accidental fire. And apparently the British national who was held there, Anousheh, said, "I used to call it the Valley of Hell." So you can imagine the situation there is really dark. Medical care is next to zero. They're living with bed bugs, cockroaches, rats, you name it. And that's the Evin prison. Sounds nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now,
It
I'm
sounds like
curious.
Rikers Island here in New York City.
Yeah. It won't qualify for the Holiday Inn.
No.
But
Now, I'm curious how you got from the sounds to it not being an accidental fire. Tell me
Well-
how one got you to the other.
well, if it was an accidental fire, what is the explanation for gunshots and what were the other things?
Explosions.
Explosions. Yes. I mean,
Fires do cause explosions,
yes. Okay.
and people often mistake popping sounds for gunshots in a situation where you might expect guns.
Yeah.
Even if it was gunshots, I can completely imagine an accidental fire leading to people trying to desperately escape,
Yeah.
and then guards shooting at them or near them, or actually killing them for
Yeah.
trying to escape.
Yeah.
None of which indicates that the fire was anything other than accidental. Now, I'm not saying it was accidental. I was just trying to figure out how
Yeah.
that set of facts led you to not being
Yeah.
accidental.
Well, we can only speculate at the moment. There's not enough news come in yet for us to be sure about the cause. And there's a reason for that, because, of course, as I've got to report in the later item here, that BBC and other independent news gathering agencies don't have access to Israel. It's a closed society. So I'll go to that item now, and we can duck back to the other ones in between. So here we are. This one says, Iranian authorities have been disrupting the internet service in order to limit the flow of information and to control the narrative. But Iranians are still sending BBC Persian videos, phone videos of protests that are happening across the country via the messaging apps like, WhatsApp and so on. So shocking incidents have been shown. People have been, the BBC has to check these. They've seen a woman dragged away by female special forces, security forces shooting from a pickup truck. I've seen that video. There's a pickup truck, and mounted on the back, there's some sort of gun. So it's swiveling around and firing. I have no idea at whom. Men have been ducking for cover, all in these videos from the gunfire. So what the BBC has to do, since they're not allowed to gather the news themselves, is try and authenticate these phone videos that have been sent
Yep.
through them.
Yep.
And what they do is they try to establish when and where it was filmed.
Yeah.
And they can pinpoint the location
Yeah.
by looking for landmarks and signs of the footage and checking them against satellite images and against street-level photos and previous footage. Weather reports, the position of the sun and the angles of shadows it creates can be used to confirm the timing. So it's quite difficult to get good information out of Iran.
Yeah, so I'll just remark to this because I'm actually working on this thing called OSINT, which is open source intelligence. I'm a private detective, a private investigator, so I'm upping my skills here. And there's a lot of metadata that's available in video and pictures and whatnot that a proper investigator should be able to determine the veracity of the images and that they're not just some stock footage or the dates are correct and all that kind of stuff. So
I guess there's an imprint of each individual phone on every video taken.
But once that's sent via messenger, does the metadata get changed to the phone and time that the message was sent as opposed to the original filming? I just don't know.
Yeah. No, it's a many layered process for sure. But again, if they can't verify it, then they shouldn't show it. That's the bottom line, right? If your fact checking doesn't reveal that your facts are checked, don't show it.
Right. And what a great example of scientific and critical thinking on the part of BBC. They're doing fantastic science in the effort to produce accurate and reliable reporting.
It's admirable, isn't it? Well, staying with Iran, there's been a PR fiasco because a big billboard, a giant billboard in the central square in Tehran depicted women, a montage of about 50 Iranian women wearing the hijab, and the slogan to this big picture was "Women of my land." However, the women whose images have been used objected. One of them was the multi-award winning actor named of Fatima Motamed Aria. She protested, releasing a video of her protesting, not wearing the hijab, she said. She was in the video that she released, she wasn't wearing the hijab, and she said, "I'm not considered a woman in the land where young children, little girls, and freedom-loving youths are killed in its fields." So there was a whole host of these 50 women who objected, and eventually the authorities took the billboard down.
Good.
One of the women was a film director named Marzia Borumand, and she said, "Gentlemen, remove my photo from the wall under which you oppress children and young people. I will never allow any group inside or outside this country to use my cultural identity for their own benefit."
Good on her.
Yeah, absolutely. Hear, hear.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is at where are they, in relation to this, as it were, revolution? Are they anywhere near actually the point where the regime will collapse? And none of us can really tell.
No. Well, I've got an item that deals with that too.
And are they actually living in Iran while they're making these statements?
I don't know.
If their geography may be bolstering their ability to speak freely.
Yes.
I saw a group of women. I think they're in the US, but they are originally from Iran. And they made a protest, and they were naked. It was a naked protest. And
That's
speaking
really?
that to me, I think that's a strong message.
Yes.
When you have to be naked to pass on this message that enough is enough, we choose to not be oppressed, and that this head, it's only a piece of cloth, and you cannot force us to carry on wearing this. Some of us, for some people, they still would like to wear the hijab.
Yeah.
They choose to still wear it,
Right.
but at least make it a choice thing,
Yes.
whether you choose to wear it or not to wear it, and not force everyone to wear it.
Absolutely. It shouldn't be compulsory.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
you're
there have been
absolutely right.
demonstrations all around the world. I mean, I know there was one in Manchester where there's quite a Manchester, UK, where there's quite a big Iranian expat community. And the demonstration here, and I suspect in many, and I know there was in London.
Yes.
And of course, Mariam Namazi was
Yes.
right there at the front.
Absolutely. Well, you're absolutely right. The anti-government.
I was naked and protesting Iran too, but I was doing that in my house, so I don't know if that counts for anything.
We are not
The
requesting video.
next thing, no, that was going to be my next question. Where can I go and see this protest?
Please don't send me videos of this. Thank you.
Dr. Ty wants to say something.
Yeah, just can I be heard? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Great. I wanted to make a quick point on the theme of the last couple of stories. It's really easy to convince loyalty with obedience, and we got to make sure that there's a difference between the two, because when you use force to maintain obedience and that force wanes, or as people leave your area of influence, and there's realms that or tools that people have that are you're using to oppress them, but they have access to information outside. Your force can't be everywhere, but their information access can be.
Yeah.
And I think what we're seeing right now is the desperate wanting of the force that needs to be applied to maintain the level of obedience that they desire, and the loyalty they never had to begin with. I also had a
Good
friend of
point.
mine who worked in one of our laboratories who was an atheist from Iran. I won't say his name or their name or her name, just to help their identity. But when they were in our laboratory, we were talking openly about atheism. And I don't even know if I think I was an atheist then. It was still a relatively new thing for me. And he was excited because he was an atheist too. And he was someone I could talk to about this in the South. And he said, yeah, I don't even raise my family on the religion that we have. And, when we were there, it was solely for showing. Like, you show up at mosque to show everyone else that you're at mosque. And you do the forehead praying with a stain on your head so you can show everyone else that you're part of the plan. But he never took it as gospel or serious or knew it. He did it so his family could be safe and stuff like that. So when he was working over here, he got another job that unfortunately took him back to where he was at. But I was like, I can imagine that the people who are going through this, both men and women, are largely following a script for the interests of the safety of their family.
Yeah.
Obedience, but not out of loyalty. And I think that should be known.
Yeah. They're paying lip service to the rules, aren't they? So you're absolutely right. What's been going on in Iran has spilled out onto the streets of Europe and North America. And one example is a guy called Tahiri Danesh, who is a human rights researcher who lives and works in London. And he said, it's phenomenal. It's happened at such speed. And this sense of camaraderie among Iranians has been amazing. So he's hopeful that this is going to be a turning point for Iran. Although last week we heard from people who were very depressed about it and thought that the authorities could never be overturned. So wait and see, I'm afraid. There's nothing more we can do. But it's not all about...
I think it's safe to say that the revolution has begun in Iran.
Yeah, I hope you're right.
I think so.
Yeah, good.
Let's just remember that the enemy isn't the religion, it's the need for power by a select few that's in Iran. Like, I think a lot of the stuff that we're seeing would happen if they were worshiping seals or unicorns or leprechauns. Like, this is a group of people trying to maintain power over a lot of other people. And like when the revolution happens and they're still in charge, then it's just same system with a different.
Right.
Well, it's like
facelift on it.
that Who song. Here comes the new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah, well, I thought Allah was a seal, actually. I must be a bit confused. Anyway, in New Jersey, a bulldozer, which has become the symbol of oppression of India's Muslim minority, rolled down the street during a parade marking India's Independence Day. And so this sparked a protest because half of the people there are Muslims wanting to celebrate the holiday, and the other half of the people there are Hindus who want to violently confront them in the same way that happened in Leicester, England, last month. So, and this has happened as a result of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Bharatiya Janata Party, who have promoted Hindu nationalism in India.
I'm confused. There was a bulldozer that ran over people, or was it just there? Was it parked? Was
No,
there
I
construction?
think it was. I think it was just in the parade.
Okay.
But
It sounds like a typical day in New Jersey to me.
Yeah, I'm just like New Jersey's got a bunch of them. Everyone's a construction guy.
Yeah, really.
I think this is
There's
where
a
you
bunch of bulldozer at the parade again. It's going to cause a national incident. Don't you know that? Forget
This
about
is-
it. All right.
You're required to hire a construction worker who's mobbed up. That's right.
That's right. This probably had something to do with The Sopranos.
I remember a quote by, I think it was Christopher Hitchens, that said, "Religion poisons everything."
Yep.
Yes.
And you look at these people, the Hindus, are now fighting with the Muslims. There's never an end to these fighting.
Your confidence.
If they're not fighting the other religion, they're fighting within themselves. The Muslims, within the Muslim religion, the Shias are fighting the Sunnis,
Yeah.
and the Sunnis are fighting the other people, right? So this is what religion does, because everyone in their religion believes that theirs is right and the other people have it wrong. You're worshiping the wrong God. You've got the wrong beliefs. We've got it right. And, everyone wants to prove something. They've got something to prove, not just to themselves, but to their religion. And some religions go as far as to tell its followers that they have to fight for the cause, right? They have to do a holy war, jihad. So you see these people going out there fighting for what they believe. They strongly believe that they've got it right. And
I want to ask.
in some cases, you're told that when you're done fighting, 72 virgins await you
Yes.
out there.
I want to ask, why is religion a magnet for dogmatic people?
Well, it's a sense of order, right?
From a cultural point of view, you're talking as much about religion as you are talking individual heritage. And now I'm not a psychologist, but it relates to individual and group identity as well.
Yep.
I mean, in the U.S., you have the Christian nationalists who are entwined with the Republican Party, talking about end times and how the only way you can save the country is if you love Jesus, and if we take power over, we'll make this a Christian country. So this sense of violence, this sense of, as you were saying, my God is the right God, anybody else's God is wrong, and if you don't believe in God, you definitely don't even deserve citizenship in a way. It's happening here in the United States And it has taken what has been a traditional conservative party and turned it into a hyper-religious, nationalistic, nihilistic party.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is religion that's done that. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's the Lauren Boeberts. It's
Yeah.
the the several of the Republican congressmen and some senators, the ones who denied the election, the ones who deny all these different things, and they're all doing it because of their religious belief.
So it's not just religion, though, is it? Dogmatic people like to club together. It seems they like to they find a haven in some doctrine or other. Am I right about this? What do you say?
Well,
Yeah.
it's authoritarianism.
Mhm.
Religion is authoritarian.
Yes.
And I want to add something else. A lot of people don't get the choice of whether or not they join a dogma. Like a lot of it's infused in them as they're raised, as they're being indoctrinated in the society that they're raised in. And I never had a chance to have critical thinking outside of a religious point of view until I was in college. And then I realized that there are other systems, and I have to ask myself a lot of honest questions.
Right.
Not only that, but a lot of people who are adults who are religious now have to deal with the same hill that I overcame, which is there are a lot of ambiguity. There's a lot of ambiguity in the world and a lot of uncomfortable questions I have to ask myself. And dogma offers certainty in the face of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more uncomfortable than dealing with uncertainty.
Yeah.
So
Even
like,
if it's false. Yeah.
right. And it wasn't until I learned to love the feeling of uncertainty and appreciate what doubt is, I couldn't come to terms with the idea of like, wow, I need to get back in religion as soon as possible because this is really scary on this other side. I need the blanket. I need the security. Yeah. So I don't blame them, especially if you never had a chance to get out of it in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. Now, several people have talked about the potential evolutionary advantage of thinking in superstitious ways.
Yeah.
So that if there's a rustling in the bush and you presume it's not a tiger, but more likely a rabbit, and you go chasing after it, if you're wrong, your genes don't get passed on at all.
Yeah.
Because you get eaten by the tiger. Whereas if you get a bit superstitious and presume it's a tiger and become convinced it's a tiger and nobody can tell you that it's not a tiger, and so you hunker down and hide, you might miss a meal of one rabbit, but you don't die.
Yeah. Well,
so there have been. Go ahead.
It's actually called hyperactive agency detection. Daniel Kahneman, in his book Thinking Fast and Slow, talks about the two types of thinking: the type 1 thinking, type 2 thinking. So what type 1 thinking is a really fast assessment upon which you can react quickly. Type 2, of course, is more thoughtful, takes reason, critical assessment of the situation. But those two don't work together; they work separately, and it's not until you slow down to that type 2 thinking that you can then reason out what a threat may be or may not be, and just illustrating what Scott was saying about the rustle in the trees. Whether it's the wind or a tiger, you're better off thinking it's a tiger because chances are you're going to live another day to find out it's the wind.
Yeah. Well, you've broached a subject there which I want to spend more time on, not tonight, but I want to set up a free thought hour in which we toss these ideas about, and I want to invite Scott and David and anybody else who'd like to come along and express a view about things like that, and particularly about belief. What is it? How do we come by it? Is it a choice? Stuff like that.
I'd love to talk because I think you're of the opinion that we can choose our beliefs, right, John?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Tercy and I had a talk about this last night. Here's the thing. I don't think we can choose our first belief, because my view is that This is going to take longer than the program time left.
Yeah,
But
set
my
set
view-
something
Go for
up.
it. Go for it.
Very briefly,
I'd
my
love
view
to
is
join
that
you.
we're born without any beliefs because we're born without any communication ability. We can't speak, so we can't have heard of any gods, so we're born atheists. That's my view there. But then as you learn language, so you learn the concepts of the people around you who may be feeding you their belief system. Didn't happen to me, luckily. My people weren't inducted themselves. But so you can't really choose your first belief because you imbibe it as you discover how to speak. But your second belief is eminently choosable. And there's been, lots of examples of Cassius Clay turning into Muhammad Ali and so on and so forth.
I think that is an interesting discussion to
Yep,
have.
absolutely.
So,
Well,
go
I'd
for
like
it.
to participate.
Not now, but later.
Yeah, great. Okay, we'll set it up for some time. It'll be November now because we
Sure.
already have schedules. Yeah, thank you for that. So, staying with the US of A, and this refers to something that David mentioned last week when a pregnant woman in Texas was pulled over for driving alone in the high occupancy vehicle lane. And she told the police officer that her unborn fetus counted as another person.
Wow. Oh, get that.
Talk about gaming the system, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, this has progressed because the US Supreme Court declined on Tuesday to hear a case involving a debate over whether a fetus is entitled to constitutional rights or not. And so they rejected this, and it was spearheaded by a Catholic anti-abortion group who were trying to prevent abortions, but on the grounds that a person, an unborn fetus, is a person and deserves fetal personhood. But the court rejected that on the grounds that enshrining the concept into law could have consequences for those who plan to become pregnant through in vitro fertilization. What do you do with all those other embryos? And could result in the criminalization of abortion as homicide. So what's going on there?
Oh, man.
That's the risk.
It is.
David, you're muted.
You're muted,
It does
David.
not sound as if the US Supreme Court is rowing back a bit on their Roe v. Wade. Is it Roe v. Wade decision?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that in some cases, and I'm sorry for jumping in, they may have decided to not touch that fire because the midterm elections are a few weeks away, and people are already fired up over the loss of Roe v. Wade as federal law. And had they taken that up, that I think would have really pushed a lot more people to be politically active against the Republican Party. But this is just the logical extreme of the Catholic Church saying every sperm is sacred.
Right.
Don't masturbate because you're killing children. I mean, this is the insanity of it.
Yeah.
Especially when it is Mother Nature who commits the greatest number of abortions.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also, there are scriptures in the Bible that talk about, the process. It's not exactly abortion, but if a man suspected his wife or woman of cheating, all he had to do was take her to the priest, and she's given a concoction to drink, and that concoction, if she's pregnant and loses the baby, then that's the sign that she must have been doing something behind his back. So somehow that was okay,
right?
because it's
Yeah.
And that's
And
sort of,
let's not forget that not every religion thinks that abortion is immoral.
Right. Well, the Jewish tradition.
So any religion that does, if the Supreme Court starts to make preferences for a particular theology, that's in violation of the Constitution.
yeah. And as for the concoction, there's a grass in this country, I can't remember the name of it, but I know that you have to get rid of it from cows' fields because it causes them to abort their calves. So if you want to abort, just go and find out about that. Now,
If you're a cow.
If you're a cow.
yeah, I'm sure it'll work for humans. So I want to finish on a couple of little items here, which are rather nice, better news than most items, because there's been a survey, and it was conducted by the NBC News and Telemundo National Survey people, who surveyed the Hispanic immigrants in the USA. And the Catholic Church has been hoping that these Hispanics will be overwhelmingly Catholic and will halt the decline in Catholicism, which is happening to the non-Hispanics in the US of A. Here's their bad news. Less than half of the Hispanic Americans identify as Catholic, and those who are not now Catholic, 40% of them say they were formerly Catholic. So, in fact, they are leaving Catholicism at twice the rate of the non-Hispanics in the US of A.
Go team.
Very good news.
It's not really, though, because a lot of the Hispanics are going into evangelicalism.
Oh,
So they might be leaving. Catholic doctrine isn't radical enough for them.
yes.
Yeah.
So be wary of those statistics because, yeah, it's bad news for the Catholic Church, but it's not necessarily good news.
Well, we need a better. We need to get better data. Data taking to sort that part out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, finally, wrapping it up, trying to get in under the 40-minute deadline that I'm aiming for. And I'm failing miserably because it's 47 minutes
I
already.
was just going to note that.
Yeah. You'll be pleased to hear that the one-time evangelical darling, Reverend Brandon Robertson, who is known to his 195.5 thousand followers on TikTok as an openly gay Christian pastor, you'll be pleased to hear that he is making Christianity queer again.
No. The only good news there was he was leaving the faith.
Yeah, right.
Guys,
see people wearing hats with MCQA on them.
yes. I'll buy one of those.
With
definitely.
pride stripes, right? With pride colors.
Yeah, definitely.
Rainbow hats. Yes,
That's right.
absolutely. Well, on that note, on that happier note, guys, you've been wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, viewers, too.
Thanks for having us.
And
Thank you.
thank you. We'll see you all again next week.
See you soon.
Hey.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Several
Was the Pope appealing for peace or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the Kaliningrad.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guys? Hold on.
Right. I'm going to have to shoot off.